Welcome everyone to Tristan Clunis' show. This is my podcast. I'm your host, Tristan Clunis. It's been a while. It's been some time. We haven't done this in a while, but I want to say Happy New Year. We're at the top of the year. I'm excited because I have a great guest. But before we even get into that, I want to make sure that you guys like, subscribe, comment below. Let me know what you think. Let me know what type of guests or type of topics that you want to cover this year for 2024. It's a new year, guys. It's a new year. So we have a lot of topics to talk about. We have a lot to get into because 2023 was definitely an interesting year to say the least. But first, let me introduce my guest. He's a mentor of mine, whether he likes it or not. He's a mentor of mine. I've been a part of this brokerage that him and his brother run. I'm going on 10 years. 2024 is 10 years now working with them, and it is like home. They've been there with me from the jump. They've literally helped me get to where I'm at, and I can see that my potential is we're going to go even further because they've always been there to support me, my family. I appreciate them so much. But I have none other than the owner of Royal Lepage Signature Realty, who's also a pillar in the real estate industry for Toronto, for Canada. There's nothing more to say. Chris Slightham is here today. This is your second time on the show.
Yep, thank you.
I appreciate you coming on.
It's my pleasure.
And we're going to talk about real estate.
We are.
Yes, and how to build wealth in this whole crazy industry.
Our favorite topic.
Yes. How's everything going with you?
Everything's good. Yeah. No, it's an honor to be here. It's an honor to come back, and it's an honor to work together. It's been a lot of fun. 10 years. It goes by in a minute, and it's great.
I want to say I do want to start out by saying thank you because as I said, you guys have been a massive reason for me being where I'm at right now. And as I said, I know that there's so much more potential there in terms of, just even the type of people that you guys have a part of your brokerage that are doing phenomenal things. It's so inspiring to be a part of this brokerage because you guys put us first. You put your agents first. You want to make sure that we do well. And it makes sense because if we do well, you guys do well, right? So it kind of works both ways.
That's it. It's a team effort, right? And when you love what you do and you're passionate about it, it makes it easy. But I will say, Tristan, you have to. I have to acknowledge as well that we're a support mechanism for great realtors like yourself. But it's up to the individual to take what we deliver and actually execute on it, and that's what you've done. So I think that is definitely needed to acknowledge is that it doesn't happen just because of what our component does. It happens really from taking what we provide, the platform we provide, and executing, and you've done that flawlessly.
Thank you.
So congratulations on your success. You had a phenomenal year in 2023
yes,
and a tough year.
It was a tough year.
Whoa.
It was. We're going to get into that. Thank you so much, Chris.
Wow.
That means a lot to me. So let's get started. First question I have is, your family, you guys been a part of real estate in this city for decades now.
Yes.
It's generations, not just you. It doesn't stop. It doesn't start with you. It starts with
great grandfather. Really, technically, it started as a bricklayer.
I need to hear. So I want to know how you guys got started in real estate in terms of when did that happen? Why did you guys get into real estate? Going back to great grandfather, but then how that journey, your journey was, and then also what you see now, where are you guys now?
Yeah, no, it's a story of when my great grandfather first came to Canada from Scotland and the UK and was a bricklayer, right, a tradesman, right, and as the country was growing and started laying bricks and then bought a lot and built a house, and then my grandfather joined in and they started building homes, and then from that, we evolved into the brokerage side of the business in 1965, and as a family. And so, since '65, we've had this component of our business. And my father was then involved with my grandfather, and then in gotta date myself here a little bit, but probably I think it was 1990.
We'll blurb this out.
Exactly, 1990 something.
Yeah.
Early 90s. I entered the business. I was one of those kids who kind of followed his dad to work when he was little, and I kind of always knew what I wanted to aspire to do, and I had the opportunity to do that. And I entered the market in really what was and still goes down as the toughest
Early
in
90s.
the 90s, the toughest time in real estate.
Yeah.
From either an ownership, an investor, a brokerage, a realtor.
Yep.
The toughest time. It was a dark time for our economy in general, for our country, economically, and real estate really felt it a lot for a lot of different reasons than what we're experiencing today. And then we fast forward today, and in 2023, we just experienced the toughest real estate market in over 25 years. In terms of like the lowest transaction volume in over 25 years. And then from the business side of it, for you and I, the toughest market in the history of the business of real estate brokerage, because we had historically low transaction volumes, and we have the highest number of realtors in our industry that we've ever had. So on a per capita basis, it had the lowest transaction volume per licensed realtor in the history of the Toronto Real Estate Board in 2023. So, I mean, that as if buyers and if homeowners are listening or investors are listening, it's maybe not really that relevant to them, but it's just an indication of how challenging the overall real estate market has been was in 2023.
And that's my next question. What happened during that time? As you said, like we had. So for those that are watching that love stats, we had just over 65,000 sales last year in 2023, which, as Chris said, the lowest we've seen since what, 2001? 2000?
Earlier, yeah,
Oh,
2000, even earlier than that, I think. Yeah,
oh, wow.
just before that.
You said 25 years.
Yeah, so I think we're 20,
wow.
somewhere in that range.
Which is crazy. So what exactly happened? Like, why did that happen? After the last couple, bring it back to 2021, 2022, it was record breaking. We had crazy years, and then why was 2021 affected that way?
So great question, and I think that we now better understand. We knew it as we were going through the situation, but it really stems from the start of the pandemic in 2020, and all the world banks, all the federal banks around the world, Bank of Canada included. When they had to lock down the countries around the world for health concerns, we think about it. It's tough to even remember now. Time has gone by, and maybe you just want to block it all out. And that's why I can't remember it. But I do remember being a business owner and operator and just with children and families and what's going on. And they literally the government said you have to stay home.
Right.
Nobody leave their house for 2 weeks,
right? And
that was the start of it. And that 2 weeks in our neighborhood became 9 weeks. And when you close a country, an economy, to avoid, to keep the world functioning on a financial basis, the strategy they took was they said, look, we've got to increase availability of money. So they brought what they call stimulus packages in. They did things that caused interest rates to drop, right? The Bank of Canada lowered the overnight lending rate to make it easier for people to weather that storm.
Right.
What we've now, and they kept that overnight lending rate down for 24 months, almost, so 23 months like it was. So what happened is when rates, and then in that time period, we navigated through it, I would say, better than, I don't know if it's better than expected. A lot of mistakes were made, of course.
As a country or as a like globally?
I think globally. Yep. I think as a country in particular, I can't speak to all areas of the globe, obviously, but as a country, we did do, I think, better than expected, probably. In some cases, and look, not everything was done well, but probably better than expected, which caused the economy to actually, to jobs to be retained.
Right.
Houses, people didn't lose their houses.
Right.
Interest rates, of course, dropped. We found ways to live and work remotely so that the economy could function. People could earn incomes. There were sectors of the economy like hospitality, food and beverage, and restaurants that got just absolutely devastated. So not everybody came out unscathed.
Right.
But as a whole, looking back, we did generally okay.
Right.
There were again probably lots of reasons. Too much stimulus maybe, and rates for too low for too long. But what that caused, though, of course, to speed up the conversation, is it caused real estate values to rise faster than they normally do, and low interest rates. So the cost of ownership, right, drops because your mortgage rate is low. People said, look, my job seems to be okay. The economy is functioning. In November of 2020, they announced that they had discovered a vaccine.
Right.
We'll call it whatever. I don't know what the right term for it is now, but
Yeah.
that's what they called it then, right or wrong. But that's what happened. So, we're going to get out of this. Right? It's okay. We're going to be, yes, there were still some very, very tragic losses along the way. But okay, well, there's a little bit of a light at the end of the tunnel. And then we entered 2021 with this hope and this understanding that these vaccines were going to help us navigate through this. Again, we're not here to debate the good, the bad, the whatever. That it is what it is. Their own,
that could be a whole conversation.
And I respect it tremendously. But the net effect, what we have to understand is that it gave people hope, and we could restart the economy. But they kept interest rates low to allow things because they'd never gone through this before. They being the Bank of Canada.
So they weren't sure how to.
How long do we keep it in a stimulated form to ensure that we get through this okay?
I remember one thing that's really like, no, because it's funny. I remember when we had multiple meetings. Like you started off in our brokerage, and for realtors that are watching, why I love my brokerage, you guys started doing Zooms.
Yes.
At the time, it was 3 times a week.
3 times a week.
Literally, I think it was Monday, Wednesday, Friday.
You got it. Yep.
And nobody else, no other office was doing that. But you guys are just for an hour. But for an hour, we're talking about what's going on in the market, how people are finding it. I remember you kept saying, "Hey, guys, we are borrowing from the future." That literally sticks out the most in my mind. We're borrowing from the future. All this activity that's happening on the market, all these sales, it's great and all. Yeah. But we're going to have to pay the piper. Like we're gonna have to face, what we've done. Like all this action is great, but we're taking from the next few years in terms of sales.
And that's what happened.
Yeah. And it literally.
Yeah. So that's what's played out. So we had basically not free money. The rates were so low. On an inflation adjusted basis, it technically was free money, right? At that moment in time. So people were doing what they should, right? If you're given the opportunity to buy something with really low interest, great. Now, not to get too technical about it, but some people took variable rate mortgages. Yeah. Those who took fixed rate weathered the storm better.
I didn't take your advice on that one.
Yeah.
You did mention. He mentioned, guys, he mentioned go on fixed. This is the lowest ever. You will not see this again for a while, if you ever see it again.
I don't think we'll ever. Unless there's, God forbid, another catastrophic event. Right.
You were telling us to go 5-year fixed, but I'm like, you know what? I want the flexibility of variable. Oh boy, I felt it. I felt it
for sure. Right. But you know what? You grind through it. Yes. You figure it out. What it is. And most people will.
Right.
So that's what happened. So people jumped in, and that's what we did. We borrowed from the future, and then rates could not be that long. That's not effectively a 0.25% overnight lending rate is not sustainable for forever. So we knew it was going to go up. We didn't know when, and we didn't know how fast. Now we know when, and now we know how fast.
Right. Should they have done it sooner? Yes. I remember you were saying that as well. They're prolonging it, but they did it for way too long.
Way too long. Yeah, way too long. And again, it's hindsight. And look, at least for our sector of the economy, it was way too long. Right. Way too long. Right. And so that caused that extra push. So in the first quarter of 2022, when they started talking about the fact that interest rates were going to go up, people got super excited about it. We had super low inventory, because people weren't moving. They were staying in their homes, so there was low interest. So lots of buyers coming in because we got a growing country, right? We've got immigration.
We're going to talk about that next.
Yeah. So we've got a lot of these factors, and then with people got so, oh my gosh, I better get in with these low interest rates. They jumped in the first quarter of 2022, and there was an extra spike.
It was insane.
Of prices that was
insane.
hard to imagine.
They were going up like
50 grand a month.
Yeah, like
right?
some areas even like 100 grand, like within a month and a half, as you said, 2 months easily.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
So that's what happened, right? And then they finally the government said, oh,
everything stopped. Yeah,
we have to. This is getting way too hot. We got to pump the brakes, and they pumped the brakes harder than they've ever done.
Right.
And so rates went from a quarter point to, by the end of the year, it was 5% overnight lending rate, and that shut the real estate component of our economy down.
Right.
As it should.
Right.
As it would.
Wow.
So hindsight being 2020, could they have raised rates sooner? So it would have been a slower, gradual.
Yeah.
In hindsight, would have been a smoother experience for us.
Right.
And probably we would have not seen that final spike. So we wouldn't have had that extra $150,000, average sale price pop from, late 21 into early 2022. Maybe that wouldn't have happened. So it wouldn't have had this, when you look at the chart, you see this quite, strong peak in that moment in time.
Right.
And it would have been a smoother ride for us. But, it's easy for you and I to talk about it now.
Yeah. We're pros on it.
I don't know why they
now.
didn't do that, Gee.
Question. You mentioned immigration, and over the last couple of years, we've seen record numbers of people coming into this country. Mm-hmm. Like we're leading, as you said, and I say you say this in our Zoom meetings.
Yes.
We're leading, or one of the leading countries in the G7 for immigration.
We are. Yeah.
So that's kind of what's keeping things going. Technically speaking, even when we're here, Benjamin Talbot, technically in a recession, but because of immigration, it's only per capita from what I understand. Anyways, my question is, we've had all this immigration, but then we also 2023 were affected by a lot lower new build starts. So my question is, how is that going to affect future years? If we're not building because of obviously people not feeling confident, interest rates, buildings are getting hammered as well. Yeah. If we're not building, but then we are having all these people coming into this country, how will 2023 affect future years?
Great question. And we won't really know until we get there.
Right.
But what's
your crystal ball saying?
My crystal ball would say that if you have, it's a simple, supply and demand formula, right? So when you have low supply and high demand, prices go up. When you have high supply and low demand, prices go down. Right. Economics 101.
Yep.
So if we just think about that concept, if we believe that immigration will continue on the path that it's on now, so in 2023 they recently announced that we welcomed 1.25 million, 1,250,000 people into our country. Some of them are temporary, some of them are permanent, some of them are students, but 1.25 million new people into our country in 2023, which is brilliant.
Right.
I think it's absolutely fantastic.
Right.
So if that's happening, and everybody needs somewhere to live.
Correct.
Right? And so if you believe that's going to be roughly the growth of our country over the foreseeable future, and you have a scenario like we did in 2023 where confidence in investing in new construction, in new homes or new construction really died effectively. Yeah. Now you have no new construction coming, so that's no new supply, no extra supply, in an already tight, underserved market from a supply standpoint. To me, it looks like 3, 4, 5 years from now, if we don't get new construction rolling soon, you have 1 million people over the next 5 years. Let's say we have 1 million people a year, so we add 5 million more people to the country.
Yep. 5 years from now. Yep.
Cumulative over the next 5 years. Mm-hmm. And you have low new construction in an environment that already doesn't have enough supply. So you've got low supply, high demand because people need to live somewhere. What is that going to do to prices?
Yep, it's going to skyrocket.
It has the potential to be a very expensive real estate market.
Interesting. So even though rates will come down, we do anticipate that rates are going to come down for 2024. I'm going to ask you your crystal ball predictions for 2024 as well. That's probably one of the next questions. But even though rates are not going to be record low, you still think that the prices will still, like, it's going to be a very expensive market in the next 5 years or so?
Well,
Just based on
because
supply
what
and demand.
happens is, even if rates don't move, generally speaking, if the economy is functioning and is stable,
somewhat, yes.
then everybody's, not everybody's, but a lot of people's incomes are going to rise.
Right.
Like you get even if it's a 3% increase on an annual basis, whatever it is, over 5 years, 3% a year, that's 15% more income you're making, right?
Right.
So you have more purchasing power.
Right.
So even if rates stayed the same, your purchasing power is going up. So you can afford to spend a little more on whatever you're purchasing, right?
Right.
Let's say a home. So that gives people the ability to pay more. So that can affect values. We believe, from what we're observing right now, that the monetary policy in place, so the rates that are existing today, are restrictive to the economy. So it's doing what it's supposed to do. It's keeping growth down.
Right.
But economies need to grow.
Right.
They needed to, we grew too fast, so we borrowed from the future, so they had to slow it down. They needed to kind of do a reset. But rates where they are today are effectively slowing the economy down. So if that's the case, in order to speed the economy up again, or at least not have it go down into a deep recession, that's not the goal.
Nobody wants that, correct.
No, that's not the goal. That means then rates should arguably come down at some point in time, right?
Got you.
Again, like we talked about, when we knew rates were too low, we said at some point in time they're likely going to go up. Nobody knew at the time when. It was just not. It wasn't if, it was when. Right?
Sure. Yes.
Same, we believe, with interest rates being higher than sustainable. Right.
Right.
So if that comes down, and it doesn't have to, like, I don't believe we're going to go back to 3% 5-year fixed mortgage rates. I don't think that's the case. But I think you could easily go back to 4.5%.
Which is sustainable.
Which is very sustainable. And if we rewind the tape to the spring of 2023, just last year, back in April and May, 5-year fixed rates were in that range, 4.5, 4.7, depending on.
The market was
taking
off. They had to pull things back.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we saw prices rise from January of 23 to May of 23. So in 5 months, the average monthly sale price went up $150,000. And all rates did was come from about 5.2 to 4.5 roughly.
Crazy.
It wasn't a lot.
Just goes to show the demand that's there. It's pent up demand.
It is.
People are there sitting on the sidelines. They have to do something.
Absolutely.
Some people are not going to be able to be in a position to wait. But I want to transition even from that. We have a lot of supply in the GTA, especially in Toronto, for condos, tons. Mm-hmm. So buyer's market. I've yet to. This is like, I think, my first time.
Yeah.
I've been doing this. I'm in my 12th year. It's my first time seeing, 5 months, 6 months of inventory in certain areas. Mm-hmm. I've yet to see that.
Yeah.
In Toronto.
Yeah.
The question I have is, we have all this demand. We have all this supply, but prices are not coming down. So I'm just trying to figure out why is that? Why in Toronto or Toronto condos it's a buyer's market, but it's not reflecting in price?
Great question. So prices, I think, have stabilized in this area because sellers will unless they have to sell, and some do, and so they'll take, they might take whatever they can get at that moment in time. So that might be perceived as an opportunity, for a buyer. If there's a seller that, hey, I can't hold on any longer, who's out in the market?
Got to get rid of it.
I got to get aggressive with my price, and there's an opportunity there. So condo prices have come down slightly from about 18 months ago.
Sure.
But again, condo prices didn't take off like detached home prices did during the boom year of 2021, because what happened during COVID is people, communal living, we'll call it, right? Being close to your friends, neighbors, whatever, because of the transmission of COVID. Like, I remember, only one person at a time was allowed in an elevator,
which is insane.
Right? So
imagine on the 40th floor.
Yeah, how long it would take to get up and down, and only one family or family unit can get on the elevator.
They changed it, I remember, to 3. They had like a triangle, like a pyramid.
You in that corner.
And then somebody at the top. Yeah.
Right. So that changed the perception of communal living in a condominium environment.
Right.
So condos didn't have that run because people were saying, oh, well, I got to live somewhere. Well, I need my own backyard. I need to be able to have my own front door, this riding this elevator thing's crazy. So those types of product took off like a rocket.
Right.
Condos really came up a little bit, but not much at all, hardly. And so they have hardly come down. Really what it is now is a timing thing, right? So what we've already seen is we saw, for example, in downtown Toronto, we had a high condo inventory in the fall. It's already started to drop down because sellers will go on the market and say, I'm going to try to sell.
See what happens,
Maybe the rental market is booming right now, right?
Doing very well.
So they're changing their attitude on selling. So maybe they say, why don't I keep it and put a tenant in?
Yep.
Right? Because we're getting great rents.
Yep.
Super. So that changes things. And I think that what we will see is as people become back to work more and more, obviously we're every month we remove ourselves from the pandemic, the darkest days of the pandemic, we become more and more comfortable.
Right.
We might not, it's not like you're consciously aware of it, but generally speaking, the world is still continuing to return to normal, whatever that is. People going back to their offices more, companies saying, look, we tried this work at home thing.
It's not working out.
It's not really working out for our industry, whatever that industry might be. We really need you back in the office. That's changing, and that's going to continue to evolve over the next 24 months. So I think that's part of what's driving it right now, and which means to me, when there's high inventory, that's when you want to be a buyer, right?
Correct.
Most people are sitting on the sidelines thinking, I'm going to wait till the rates drop.
It's a mistake.
Before I get in there. Most people are like, there's a lot of choice. There's a lot of sellers out there. I don't know. You don't want to be most people.
No. Warren Buffett says it.
Perfect.
When everybody's selling, you buy. When everybody's buying, you sell.
That's it.
Yep. And I just want to because this is I want to make sure from my audience, if you are on the sidelines right now, this is right. I don't like to put a time on things because I like the video to be evergreen, but we are in the top of the year of 2024. This is the best time to buy. If the rates, as we just discussed, the demand is there. We have a lot of people coming into this country. There's a lot of people that are already here that have been on the sidelines with that same thought process of, hey, let's wait and see. If you are waiting on the sidelines, now is the time for you to make your decision because when interest rates come down, all those buyers, everybody else is going to have the same thought process that, okay, now we're going to get into the market. And when interest rates come down, we have charts on this. Mm-hmm. We have graphs. Prices go up. It's just what it is. It's literally...
Just what we talked about in the spring.
Yep.
Interest rates came down 50, that's 0.5%. So think as to a mortgage payment.
Yep.
Very little.
Yep.
Right? But prices went up, on average, $150,000.
$150,000. Holy smokes.
From January to May. So you think about, I'm going to save, $500 a month on my mortgage payment. Yay! But I'm going to pay $100,000 more.
Correct. But you can't. That doesn't erase.
No,
that's going to be. That is your pay.
Yeah.
That you paid it. Yeah. It's done.
It's done. Right. So you think about that. I can't even do the math in my head. What is that? I don't know how many months that is.
Yes. Yeah.
On 200 months of savings, you've just spent
because you wanted to save $500
because you wanted to save $500 on your mortgage payment. Think about that, right? And so that's why it's so important. And we've been saying this, like, look, I'm not saying you have to rush out and buy. You better get something today. Although we've sensed in the last 30 days a shift in activity.
I'm going through it right now with my clients. Yeah. Yes. It's coming. Man.
It's on.
It is coming.
It's on.
It's not. Sorry, you're right. It's not even coming. It's on. It's happening right now.
Yeah. But that's okay. Like, don't see for yourself. Like, go out and do your due diligence.
It's funny how realtors, how we have we literally see it happen right when it happens. We know first before it gets out in the media, before it goes on the news and all that. We are right there seeing it. It's a lot more action on this property than normal.
Yeah, absolutely.
They had multiple offers. This one went for a little higher
than we thought it was.
Correct.
Right?
Exactly.
And that's any industry you're in. You're in tune with what's going on. Right. So if you're in tech, You have your finger on the pulse of whatever you're doing, and you sense that shift. I wouldn't have any idea.
Right.
Right.
Exactly. I'll be I'll be waiting for the media to tell me.
Tell me exactly.
Yeah.
And I'll be late to the game.
Right.
Right. But we have that opportunity. So what I've suggested to anybody who's considering real estate, whether it's a buy or a sell in the next 12 months, is to be in the market. And all that means is to be aware,
What's going on?
work with a professional, nudge, nudge, wink, wink, right?
Shameless plug. I'll take it.
But that's the only way you're really going to know. I'm not saying you got to buy. Like,
but just
nobody's forcing you to buy anything.
Never. Yeah.
Or sell anything.
Nope.
But the only way you're going to know whether it's the right time or the right thing for you is to be in the markets and understanding it. Having a conversation with somebody like yourself who understands amortization of mortgages, who really understands amortization of mortgages, right? And what a 50 basis point move in interest rates means to your payment.
Right.
So that you can properly make a super highly educated decision on what's best for your situation. And at the end of the day, you might decide, you know what, now is not the time for me.
Which is okay.
Great. But at least you've made an educated decision.
Exactly.
Right? Can you imagine missing an opportunity?
Yep.
And it costing you $100,000?
100%.
Just imagine that for a second. $100,000 more you may have to pay down the road by not taking the time to really understand the facts.
Right.
Nobody's going to force you to put pen to paper. Just educate. And I wish more people would consider that.
Take the time. And I'm here. I am here, guys. If you want to you set up a real estate action plan, that's what I call it. You want to go over your situation, your portfolio. I'm here to help at any given time. I'm going to leave a link down below with my Calendly as well, so you could schedule a meet. Sorry, not a meet, just even a phone call where we could discuss. This is a discovery call. We could do that. We could go through your situation, whether or not it's good for you. There's no pressure whatsoever. It's literally just walking you through your situation and whether or not you should make a move, whether it's better for you to just pause and kind of wait and see how things play out. But at least you'll be educated and be able to make a sound decision on your real estate needs and your future. I have two more questions for you because I know you're a busy man. Very busy man. I want to know, and I've been wanting to ask because you guys have done really well in this business. You guys have, it's been, and rightfully so, you've been doing it for decades, family. If you were sitting with your kids, your boys, you have two boys, one is a baller, which I love. Yeah. If you're sitting with your kids, how would you educate them on building wealth in this business to be able to, how would you tell them, or what would you be telling them to say, hey son, this is what you need to do. Here are the steps that you should be taking in order to build wealth in this game.
Well, you sort of touched on it in a roundabout way that we've been doing this a long time.
Right.
So the first thing that I've already told them this and I continue to reinforce it is you have to learn patience. That's the number one.
It's hard.
It's not easy, right? Especially in a digital world and social media, especially kids today, right? Yeah. Everything's so instant, right? They are on these crazy apps that I don't even understand, like Snapchat, and they're doing all these crazy things, which drives me absolutely crazy.
I'm pretty sure it does. But then you also see like a 21-year-old that's living in a crazy,
that's the thing,
crazy
right?
mansion and living this crazy life, and you think, oh my gosh, I need to do things now. Things need to happen right now. Yeah.
Exactly. So it's a false sense of reality, unfortunately, that social media creates. So patience is the number one thing, and that's what my father explained to me many, many years ago, that the never underestimate the value of time with anything that you do. Right? Whether it's investing time in you want to be a professional athlete, whether you want to be a painter, whether you want to be an educator, whether you want to be a realtor, whether you want to be an investor, time is what creates success if you stick with it consistently. So that's something which in this day and age I think is more important principle to understand than ever before, because of all this tech and the way the world works right now. So patience is profitable. Bottom line.
I like that. Patience is profitable.
And discipline is critical. So, and that starts at a very young age. The sooner you can appreciate the importance of spending less than you make, the better off you're going to be. And that's, again, not easy because of, like you said, the 21-year-old sitting in this apparent home with these fancy cars, which, do you really know that they actually own the home?
Rented or
otherwise?
Could have been an Airbnb. And
I mean, apparently somebody told me the other day you can actually pay to go sit on a parked private jet.
Yes. And take photos.
And take photos of yourself like you're on a private plane.
Yep. Yep, which is crazy.
Right? You can spend $200 to get a photo on a private plane that creates this image that is totally fake.
Right.
Right? So that's what we're dealing with.
Right.
So discipline, to understand that you need to spend less than you make, the sooner you get to that is incredibly important. So that discipline. And then what you do with those savings is going to determine the outcome of your life. Period. And it's that simple formula that I'm trying to instill in our kids, that my father and my grandfather instilled in us. And hey, I'm the first to admit, I didn't get it fully when I was a teenager either.
No, of course.
I can remember the conversations with my father, and I can remember him saying, you really should think about it this way, and I can. So I'm not suggesting this is easy in any stretch.
Right.
The benefit of time for me has allowed me to better understand it, so I can be emphatic about saying that these three principles are going to serve you well.
That's awesome.
Because I've seen it. Lucky for me, I was blessed with great teachers, being my grandfather and father, and I eventually listened, right? Luckily, it was fairly early on, right? So that we could make some good decisions.
Right.
And then we chose investing in real estate. That's all we've ever done. That's what we know as our primary investment strategy. And so I spent less than I made, saved, and it can be little bits. And that's the challenge too, because of this instant gratification is like, well, I saved $100 this month. Like, what's that going to do for me? Right. Well, over the next 10 years, if you saved $100 a month, that starts to add up.
Yeah, especially if you're investing it, right?
And 100 might be all you can save this month, but maybe in 6 months from now, it can go to 200. And 6 months later, maybe, if you're successful in your job and you're moving up the ladder, whatever it is, you're able to do it. You adjust your lifestyle to your income so that you can make that happen.
Right.
Yeah, but I want to live out on my own, and I want that little fancier car, and I want lifestyle because my friends do this, and look at this, and that looks like, I love that, right? You have to make some, as my father would put in air quotes, sacrifices as he rolls his eyes, right? Because you have to, not drive a fancy car. Oh my goodness, we live in Canada. You're not suffering for anything.
Yes, very true.
But as he sacrifices and says, maybe you don't go on a trip this year, right? You save that $2,000, put it away. Maybe you reduce your spending elsewhere. Maybe you live at home in your parents' basement,
right,
for 2 or 3 years. Right? That's maybe not easy on the ego, I get it. But maybe if you still have to contribute a little bit to household expenses, that's great. But right now, to move into a condo downtown is $2,500 a month, right?
Easily.
So maybe you can help out with expenses at $500 a month,
right,
to mom and dad, right? And save $2,000 a month.
That's true.
In 1 year, you've put $24,000 away.
It's good.
In the bank.
It's good.
2 years, $48,000.
It's good. It's good stuff.
Right? And all of a sudden, you're in position to get in the game.
Right.
And buy your first property. Maybe you don't move into it. Maybe you put a tenant in there.
Right.
Right? And you stay in mom and dad's basement.
Which is, I I'm a big fan of that. I'm a big.
Which is not easy.
It's not easy at all. But I've been pushing on my socials to say, like, buy what you can afford, rent where you want to live, right?
Yeah.
But in that situation, in your case, you're saying even just stay at your parents. Why not get somebody else to pay it down? They're gonna be that person, that renter,
Right.
paying on your mortgage.
Yeah.
Hopefully your home is appreciating in value in the right areas.
Yeah.
For the most part, real estate goes up. So
these are tough principles,
right? They
because and I think tougher today than when I was young, because I didn't have social media. Back didn't exist.
Yeah.
But you had flashy magazines
Sure.
and music videos and you live in a great city and there's that fancy Mercedes drives by and all these fun things and so there's lots of temptations.
Relative.
It's all relative.
Yep.
That's what you know at the time. But now I feel it is tougher. And I see it in kids today with social media, and all of us.
Right? Yeah, no,
all
not
of
just
us.
kids. Same thing.
You're going to, oh, my best friend was where over the holidays?
Yep.
Boy, that beach looks really nice.
Yep.
And it's been cloudy for 17 days in a row?
Yep.
Right?
Yep. No, you're right.
Right? So, look, none of it's easy, but if you're willing to sacrifice, if you're willing to think hard about these principles,
right?
Patience, discipline, right? And spending, less than you make over a period of time, or putting yourself into a position where whatever that means to you, you can create that savings. You're going to have a great outcome.
That's good, man.
And that's what I hope that our boys, our kids,
it's
learn.
And I'm learning it as well. It's hard.
And embrace.
It is hard.
It's
hard.
It's not easy. None of this is easy.
Right.
And I don't want anybody to ever think that, I would suggest that it's easy, because it isn't. It takes discipline to do it. And so I respect that tremendously.
One other line that you mentioned, and we don't have to get into it, but it's stuck with me a lot, like forever. You told me this years ago. You said we are never, and you talk about the way your family thinks. We're not sellers.
Correct.
We're only buyers.
That's right.
So in real estate, and that goes to show in terms of being patient and disciplined. We don't sell, we just buy. Mm-hmm. And just having that thought process, because for us, especially with the flips and all these different things that you want to do, you get excited. But you guys are like, no, we stay the course, no matter what's going on. Yeah. We just focus on buying and not selling.
Because it makes us look like you guys are so smart. Well, not really. We just did something simple. We just held real estate, right? Because whenever you sell, the asset's gone.
Right. That's what you were telling me.
And so now you're starting over again. But if you're able to hold an asset over, like you look at the average price appreciation over the last 40 years in the GTA, and it's in around 6.8%,
6.8,
right?
6.79 or something.
Yeah, right. So if you think about that, prices double at 7%. I think interest prices double every 10 years.
Every 10 years, yeah.
So you look like a hero. That you bought that for $300,000 and now it's worth $600,000 10 years later. Wow, that's huge return, right? Well, it's just the market doing what it's done, right? And in that time, it bounced around. It wasn't like straight from 300 to 600. Right. Actually, when I bought it, it dropped 25,000 in the first 8 months. I was like, oh boy, that timing was wrong.
Yep.
But today,
you look like a hero.
I look like a hero.
Yep.
Right.
I love that.
So and that's where that patience piece and discipline comes in.
I love it.
You can look like a hero when time is on your side, right?
That's awesome. One last question.
Yeah.
Crystal ball time. Crystal ball time.
Oof.
2024. We're at a couple weeks in right now.
Yeah.
What are your predictions? What do you see in this real estate market? I don't want to say for Canada. I kind of want to focus on the Greater Toronto area, on GTA.
Yeah.
What are your predictions for this year?
Yeah.
So, like in terms of like for real estate, mention whatever you want to. I just want to kind of get an idea of what your predictions are.
So to me, it is dependent on interest rates.
Okay.
We have had interest rates have been trending. Fixed mortgage rates have been trending down since October.
Right.
And so they've come off their peaks. So it depends on where you believe interest rates are going to go over the next 12 months. Will be a leading indicator of where we feel prices are going to go. To me, I feel like interest rates are going to continue to come down a bit. And so I think they're in that zone, in that, because 5-year fixed money now is in around 5.25, let's say, roughly, give or take. So if that drops just even a little bit further into 5 or the 4.8 range, that's going to continue to see the growth, a little bit of growth we're starting to see already in the market in December. It will continue. And I believe that will put upward pressure on prices. That being said, the Bank of Canada, and I think all the world banks now, are so hypersensitive to overinflating things, that they're going to be super cautious on the way they move their rates. So I thought rates would come down sooner, to be honest. They haven't. But I believe that if we continue to see, because there's some signals out there that the economy is contracting in other sectors besides real estate.
Outside of real estate,
Because real estate moves first, right?
100%.
So they moved rates, and our market stopped.
Days, like within days, yes.
And the other way, when they drop rates, our market goes.
Yes.
But other parts of the economy, which drives employment, which brings confidence back to the overall economy, are affected differently. Right. So other parts of the economy are starting to slow down. And it will be dependent on how that slowdown goes over the next 90 to 180 days will determine, I believe, how they move rates. I think they're too high right now because the economy is contracting. As I said, they're not trying to create a recession.
Right.
They'll have to loosen monetary policy, which means they'll start to notch rates down a little bit. It'll likely be at a quarter point at a time. It'll be slower coming down than it was going up because they had a little bit of a panic situation there. And that will cause consumers to be more confident, more buyers in the market. That'll eat up a bit of inventory, because the bottom line is we really don't have enough inventory.
Right.
Sure, there's pockets right now, there's a little more, which I would call buying opportunities, but there's a little more inventory, right? But overall, right, we don't have enough supply.
No, we don't.
Because we're going to be welcoming over 1 million people a year into the country, and we can't build them fast enough.
Yep. And we're already short.
Yeah. So I think, predictions, I don't love predictions because, you said it was going to do this.
Well, we're going to make sure that this goes viral all over the GTA, Canada.
And it'll be his fault.
We're going to definitely blame you.
Yeah, no, look, now I do believe now is a good time to buy, because you pay the price you pay, and that's fixed. Rates move around, right? So if you have to pay a little higher rate today and it goes down tomorrow, great. But if you're happy with today's rate and you're happy with today's price, 10 years from now, you're going to look back on yourself and go, boy, I was really smart, wasn't I?
Yeah,
right?
You're the hero then. That's awesome. Thank you so much,
Pleasure.
Chris.
Always fun.
It's been amazing. I really wanted to have you at the top of the year because you bring so much knowledge and so much wisdom to the real estate industry, not just for our brokerage, but for Canada. To be honest with you guys have been pillars, and we appreciate you. Guys, please like, comment, and subscribe. We're getting started. This is the first interview for the year. I am excited. I'm ready to rock. Remember, clueless, ask Clunis. Have a great day.